Howdy, and we are live on the United Public Radio Network, UPRN 107.7 FM New Orleans and 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast. How cool is that? And we are also being live streamed wherever podcasts live. So we're not hard to find, including my YouTube channel. So go there and subscribe. It's free. This podcast, our guarantee is that you will never look at the paranormal the same again. To all those above me that watch over me, to all of you, my fave para peeps, fellow experiencers, and brothers and sisters in Christ, welcome. This is Father Shawn's Paranormal Ministry. I'm your host, Father Shawn Whittington. I'm an ordained Catholic priest with the United States Old Catholic Church. I'm a fully professed brother and abbot for the Old Catholic Benedictines of Immaculate Mary, co-founder of GhostBegone.biz, and yeah, I'm that guy on Eli Roth Presents the Legion of Exorcists on Travel Channel, HBO Max, and all streaming on all the streaming services now if you haven't caught it yet. And it's on a bit of a world tour right now and doing quite well, so I'm happy to report that. If there's anything you want to know about my wife and I and our ministry work, go to our website, www.ghost-b-gone.biz. And if you go there to visit, there's a lot of cool things to see there. All of my books are there. And if you buy any of my books off the website, they leave my office here. I autograph them, and they arrive to you in a beautiful house blessing kit. And you never know when one of those are going to come in handy. There's also a place on the website to speak to you. You can make an appointment to speak with me about your spiritual issues, and my online course is there. Introduction to Spiritual Warfare, which you can enroll on the website, or you can reach out to me and ask me about the syllabus of the course, and before making that type of commitment, and we can decide if it's a course right for you. All my students that graduate get a stunning diploma, certificate of completion, suited for framing, along with some other very special blessed items that you can only get from yours truly. It's a 12-week college level online course, and there's no other course out there like it. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, look into it. Anything that's purchased off the website, part of the proceeds go to support St. Jude and the ASPCA. So you get to help some of the neediest children on the planet and the animals too. How cool is that? All right, brothers and sisters, got God? Well, if you'd like to join a church that accepts everybody, and I mean that, accepts everybody regardless of denomination, look into the United States Old Catholic Church, usocc.org. You might be pleasantly surprised. And if you already have a good relationship with God, but you're feeling a calling to have a closer relationship with Him, look into the Old Catholic Benedictines of Immaculate Mary. Reach out to the abbot, that would be me, and we'll discuss your calling and see if perhaps the Benedictines are in your future. All right, brothers and sisters, this is going to be a great show today. It's First Fridays with Father Shawn and Annette, and the star of the show is you guys, everybody that has access to the live stream and access to the chat. You guys are going to be throwing questions at us, and we're going to answer all your questions. No topic is off the table. And to help me with that today is my paranormal partner in crime. She's a lifelong paranormal experiencer. She's a good friend. I love her. I respect her. I've known her forever. She's the owner of Stellium Books, my co-host, my publisher, the one and only Annette Munich.
Hi, Father Shawn. So glad to be here today. Hello and welcome to all of our listeners, especially our chatters. We have the best chatters in the whole world. And, considering the heavy nature of this show, we really do manage to have a good time.
Yeah. Always. Yeah. That's my motto. I tell all our guests that. I tell everybody that tunes in that, and I've told you this 1,000 times. My goal is just to have fun. Life's too short. Just to have fun. That's all. That's all my and the no drama. I don't enjoy drama. I avoid it like the plague.
Yeah.
And I have every day. You wouldn't be surprised how many people try to drag me into drama.
Yeah.
And I'm not having it. All righty. So anything you want to
Absolutely.
announce before I maybe reach over for the mailbag or we check the what is that? Uh-oh. There's somebody ringing the doorbell at the back of the studio here. Let me check it out and see who this could be.
Oh, I
Hey,
was about to knock.
Carl,
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 sup? What are you
Carl's got
Hey.
doing?
a new fabulous haircut, or am I wrong?
Oh, no, I got, yeah, it's looking
Looking
good.
fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you.
Brother, you look very handsome. You sound great. Let's hopefully this. Whenever I get somebody like you on the show, uh, you never know what may happen. So I'm so glad you show up. You're our surprise guest for today, and we're gonna. I throw out the invitations that we're gonna start having maybe surprise guests show up every once in a while on our first Friday. So this is great, man. I'm so happy to see you.
Well,
And
I'm
you
glad to
still
be
have
here.
the greatest voice. I tell people all the time I have a face for radio, but I also, in addition to that, I'm not don't have a great broadcasting voice, but you do. So I think that's awesome.
Well, it was great on Wednesday night. We actually had a work event, and I actually got to serenade my coworkers with the song El Paso. So that was a lot of fun.
Very, very cool. I know you and Annette are collaborating on a literary project. Do you guys want to talk about that a little bit before I grab the mailbag?
Sure, go ahead, Annette.
Coming out this spring. We're shooting for middle to end of March, but no pressure on him. And if he wants to talk about what he's writing about, that would be very lovely.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so it's a fiction story. I call it Penny for Your Thoughts, but it's a story about a man who makes wishes in a well in the middle of Kansas back in the back in the 50s, and later on, those pennies end up getting dredged up, and he starts losing his mojo. So yeah, we'll see how that ends.
Interesting.
Yep.
We're,
Very, very interesting.
we're actually talking about a couple of things. So
Yep.
this is going to be nice. And I want to say I'm a big pusher now of I think we need a renaissance. I think we need people reading and writing again.
Oh,
Of course, reading and writing again, but also all different kinds of arts and making the world a beautiful, happier place. And not letting our imagination go to waste and being like very passive brained and letting AI think for us, keeping our
absolutely.
individuality. So, viva la Renaissance.
I completely agree.
I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but it's funny you bring that up. I was just watching a report that talked about how people are reading less and less, and AI is going to take over all of that. That's depressing.
Only if we let it.
Right. You know,
I
we don't want to box in our creativity.
No.
Yeah, no.
And we need to be an example for younger people
Yep.
because we're the generation that we used our imagination so much every day, made up games, dressing up as this and that, and we were playing all day long and we didn't have a device in our hand, and we had a TV. I don't know about Carl. Carl's from Chicago like me.
Yep.
One TV, and there wasn't cartoons all day and stuff like that. No.
No.
So you had
It
a
was
little bit of programming in the morning, a little bit after school. If your dad wasn't watching baseball,
the Cubs.
the Cubs, that kind of thing.
Yep.
So we had to rely on what we had, which was, and a lot of toys that we had were creative too. Like, I hate to say Tinker Toys and Lincoln Logs, but I'm going to say that. And we were making things with our hands. Anyway, I think that's part of our intelligence is our imagination and creativity. When you get past the brain and you expect to be entertained all the time, that's not good.
No, nope, not at all. It was my curfew was the street lights when I was a kid.
Right,
Yeah. Yep.
right. And
You
my
know, it,
dad could do that whistle with his fingers.
yeah.
I can't do it. I
No, I
never
can't do it
could, but
either.
he could open the door and we'd all come running.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But no, it's like if you did enough chores around the house, right? You had just enough pocket change in order to run down to the Good Humor Man when it came down the street. It was different
Now,
times.
since you brought up pennies, the
Yeah.
penny candy store.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I had an
Absolutely.
uncle. My uncle was a Chicago cop, and he'd come over and he'd go like this, and it would go up into the sky and the sun glimmer around it. It's a 50-cent piece. Come down, snap. I was rich on 50 cents.
Yep.
50 cents get me a whole like lunch sack full of
Yep. Oh,
candy
yeah.
and stuff. Some things were 2 for a penny.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Now, it's funny, you'll love this. So in the 20s, my wife's grandfather actually was a bellboy at the Julian Hotel in Dubuque, Iowa.
Oh, wow.
And many times Al Capone, when it got a little too hot in Chicago, would head over to Dubuque, and he had a suite that he always stayed in at that hotel. Well, all the bellhops, almost practically fought, who's going to carry Capone's bags, because he always tipped with either a silver dollar or even on occasion a $5 gold piece, right? And so they'd always so, and I actually still have she had gotten one of those silver dollars, so I still have that silver dollar. Of course, I have no, it wasn't like he signed it or anything, but family history says that was given to him by Capone, but
Wow.
as a tip. So
That's
That
very
is
cool.
a very cool story.
yeah.
Well, I want to let everybody know that you've been on the show, Carl, a bunch of times, and I have you scheduled actually May 15th to come back,
Yep.
and we're going to really jump in the deep end without the floaties on and get really, really squatchy that day. But I think I should, at least before we grab the mailbag, and I know Annette's also watching the chat to see if anybody has a question. Before we jump into that, I would be not doing my job if I would at least not let you know that recently I spoke to a professor of linguistics
Oh.
who happens to be a Bigfooter, and he said that he had been listening to a lot of recordings of alleged Bigfoot language, and he says that it's distinctly now this is a guy that speaks a half a dozen or more languages, and he's a professor of linguistics at a university. He says that this is a language not known to man, and it is a language, and distinctly they have I think he said a descended larynx like humans, and a lack of vocal lips, which allows them to formulate words and have a language like us, unlike apes. So I found that very interesting. I don't know if you want to have a 2 cents, you might want to talk about their language, but also I spoke to a geneticist who had many samples, mainly of hair, obviously, but that many of these hair samples, they don't they don't say what it is. They can't determine what it is, but definitely these samples, the DNA in it leans more towards being that of a human-like creature than ape-like.
Yep.
So there, I just threw some genetics at you, some DNA at you, and some
Sure.
language at you.
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, so I mean, it's so from a genetic standpoint, I'll rewind back a long time ago. Actually, so it was let's see, 14 years ago. I had actually collected some blood samples from a Bigfoot that actually had a cut foot, and I know it was a Bigfoot because not only did the trackway lead away from a bedding area, and I followed it for a quarter mile, but then it stopped to maybe possibly look at its foot, and that's where the blood droplets fell. And my daughter was actually the first one to spot them, but the blood droplets were just starting to coagulate, so they weren't even dry, right? So I'll just let everybody know those are actually getting tested right now. So we'll see how those results come. Now I always hold out that 1% that, well, it could be, because who knows, maybe he was carrying a rabbit and it just happened to drop into his left footprint that, in the trackway of the whole distance up, which at the time I didn't realize that, the left foot showed, blood droplets in it until I went back and looked at photos later on. But, it's most likely, I'll put it that way. So, but as far as the hair you were talking about, yeah, the Bigfoot's hair is very much like ours. Everybody always, you see commercials or whatever, and they show, Bigfoot is this matted, messy, clumpy fur, and but it's very fine. Their hair is very fine. It's just like ours, I've been 30 feet away from one that stood behind a tree and it put its arm on the side of the tree, and you could clearly see the hairs hanging down from, the forearm, and they were just very fine. The light breeze was making them, flow a little bit, and I mean it was remarkable. So
yeah, I think as time goes on, Annette is coming around and becoming a bit of a squatcher herself. Um, I think I saw an interview the other day, which I found very interesting. This doctor happened to be an outdoorsy person. He just, like some people go urbexing. He likes to
yep,
go out and take photographs and film the outdoors, but he's not a Bigfoot guy. But he was at overnight camping in an area, and he was giving this interview about having been surrounded by at least three, possibly four or five creatures that seemed to be definitely trying to talk to him, but he didn't understand what they were saying. So he wasn't able to communicate. And then also talking to one another, but they surrounded him. No growls, nothing aggressive, but they sat there and they watched him all night long,
yeah,
as interested of him as he obviously was of them. He admits that he was at the same time scared, whatless,
yep,
and he was glad that the sun rose in the morning and then they were gone. But more and more you see these interviews with people that are credible witnesses. They have nothing to gain, everything to lose. Professional people coming out with these stories. I hope this is the year for full disclosure.
I,
Somebody knows something already, probably, and they're just not able to say. But
right. Well,
it
well,
is what
well.
it is.
Yeah, and this year I'm part of a documentary that's being produced called The Sometime Place, and that is going to, I'll be actually doing the voiceover narration for that. So,
Okay.
um,
Nice.
and the but it's it's really credible, in-depth evidence that is going to actually turn everybody's turn everybody on their heads. I mean, it's going to be mind blowing, and I really look forward to getting that out, to the public and talking about it. So that's probably about all I can say about it. But at least in there, I know there's going to be a lot of language as you were talking about, and a lot of like I said, a lot of things that you never ever considered that's something that a Bigfoot would do. So
Very cool. And we have a comment from Carrie Carfast3. And she
yep,
said, many creatures mentioned in the Bible. Esau was a Bigfoot. I always wondered why he was described as being so hairy. Jacob had to wear a disguise to fool Isaac, a disguise of hair.
I've gone on record already and thought that I believe this creature is God created this creature, and that it's flesh and blood, but at the same time it has supernatural abilities, obviously. And one of the most paranormal supernatural books anyone could ever read is the Bible. So I'm
Hmm.
not saying anything too controversial there, but I believe that. And like I said, hopefully we find out sooner than later. But
I,
you
I
guys want to get
agree.
into the mailbag and talk some parrot talk?
Let's do
Sure.
that.
And we got a comment from Flat Rock Land saying, I'm really looking forward to the documentary.
I'm just going to
Absolutely.
pull them all out instead of one at a time.
And
I've
we
got
have
it.
a question while you're getting one out.
Okay.
Susan, hi Susan, we love Susan. Love. Do you find in your research that ETs and light anomalies are appearing in the same area as Bigfoot sightings?
Well, a lot of my sightings have occurred actually probably within about a 10-mile uh, distance, probably from where the fire in the sky incident occurred here in Arizona. So it's kind of with Travis Walton, and that I've never had that experience yet. Although I have seen some light anomalies in the woods at a distance that I knew no one was over in that area because when I get into a research area, I drive the entire circuit around, so I know exactly who's camping where, and what I could probably discount as you know tainted you know evidence or whatever. And but in this area, it was just a very strange light that was moving through the trees, but it was probably a good quarter mile away from me, and I was just like, I know there's nobody over in that area. I couldn't explain that, but yeah, I'm always open. I keep my mind open, especially to everything, take in all data points, and like I always say, I'm my worst skeptic. So I've probably discounted so much that was probably a Bigfoot doing something that I was just like, well, it could have been these guys over here in this campsite or whatever, making noise. But it it I'm always open to those possibilities, and certainly in the sometime place we're going to get into that ET connection as well. So
Well, I talk to more and more good old boys, outdoorsmen all their lives who they have an experience with Bigfoot. Now they're a squatcher. They get hooked, and it's like, what is this thing? And then more and more of them are coming out now. I don't know if they just weren't paying attention before, but now that they've opened up their mind to the possibilities and they're out there, knee deep in, trying to find out what's going on, are coming out with these stories of every time they go out there squatching now. Now they're seeing UAPs and lights in the woods like you did, and a variety of lights. Not only these big orbs, which many guys say, well, they're seeing ball lightning. No, ball lightning is totally different. But now red like fireballs that sometimes are close enough they can feel the heat off them,
wow,
and shadow figures and phantom type apparitions in the woods. So they're experiencing all of that along with the Bigfoot sighting. So
wow, yeah.
craziness. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and having seen bowl lightning, I know what that looks like, and I've also seen an extremely rare lightning, which was called beaded lightning. And at the time when I saw it, I was just like, "What did I just see?" And it was just the weirdest thing. It looked like small dots coming down, and dots, and the bolt, the energy transferred back up again across the same dots. It was the strangest thing I've ever seen. But yeah, if you look it up, you're going to go, I've never even heard of that.
Well, listen, brother, before I go on to our next question from the mailbag, I'll ask you one last thing. And for
Sure.
anybody out there that's watching now or listening now or may watch the show later on rerun, um, that may just be a person who likes to go out camping but not into any of this, what would be your number one to do thing if they ever find themselves in the presence of a Sasquatch?
Well, treat them like they're your neighbor coming over to visit. Don't don't freak out and run around. Although, depending on what you're doing in that campsite, they might be throwing some rocks at you and stuff in order to try to scare you off. But for the most part, just be a friend. That's my suggestion, because I mean, that's what I do. I mean, when I go up to the research area that I've consistently gone to every year in, year out, by the time I don't even get a launcher out of the car before, there's a rock clack right near the campsite, and I turn and wave and say, "Hey, glad you're here," and I know I'm being
Look
watched all
up a
night.
lot too. Yeah, I
Oh
tell
yeah, look
people to
up.
look up because I still talk to my friend who was a retired forest ranger, and he did that for you know uh, 40 years, uh, maybe more of his life. And he's the guy that I told you about who was canoeing down a river that was probably 50 yards wide, and he's right in the middle of it. And he heard what sounded like something stomping right up to the water's edge to alert him, and he clearly felt something was being territorial, so he didn't make his canoe go over there. But then he said a boulder about half the size of a Volkswagen launched out of the tree line all the way into the water. It could have easily have hit him, but it landed in the water in front of him, and he knew it was time to get out of there. But ever since that time, whenever he has sensed that something was warning him away from an area, he would pay attention. But he started looking up, and he said, lo and behold, many times he would see a juvenile up in the trees. So clearly, you have a father or a mother,
Yes.
Bigfoot, warning these people to stay away from their youngins.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I mean, like I said, they're like us. So, if you go over to your friend's house, right, you just don't start disrespecting them and trashing their living room, right? I mean, be respectful and be a friend. That's
I
my
was,
suggestion.
excuse me, I was watching a podcast and they were talking to a guy in Alaska about a lot of little towns and villages and how they have warning signals that someone saw one. And they tell everybody, don't go whistling in the woods, no whistling.
Well, and the funny thing is I've been, not only have I heard them whistling, surrounding my campsite at night, at times, but they're using it to coordinate with each other, right? Well, even during the day, I've had them whistle, and I've whistled back, and then they whistle back, and the exchange goes on, right, for
Yeah.
quite a while, actually, and where I'd vary it up and do different types of whistles, different rhythms, and they'd mimic exactly what I did, and it was you know that's a neat experience, right? And now if you hear a whistle and you decide to go follow it and not interact, or and yeah, don't go following something whistling just because you're curious, right? Be just be aware of your surroundings, for sure.
Whistle wisely.
Yes. Don't
All
whistle
right,
while you
guys,
work. Yeah.
you ready for our first paranormal question?
Ready.
This is from Dennis in California. Hi, Dennis.
Hi,
Hey,
Dennis.
Dennis.
Is there really, this is a good one. Is there really such a thing as ectoplasm? And what is it? Have you ever seen ectoplasm or ever been slimed? It's
I
a
I have not
Ghostbuster out of
been
my own heart.
I have not been slimed, even though I know I've had a spirit pass through me. Now, it wasn't like it was a full body apparition or whatever, but certainly I could feel it pass through me. And this was when I was on the Queen Mary, and it was but I don't recall any ectoplasm on me, but I'd love to hear your take on that as well. Either one of
Well,
you.
ladies first.
I have not had experience with that. None.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have. You watched Ghostbusters. You saw it on
I
Ghostbusters.
did see it on Ghostbusters, yes.
Um, the only I don't know what ectoplasm is, and I don't even know if ectoplasm is just something that they brought up. Dan Aykroyd brought that up for that movie, and maybe it is a real word. Um, it's just an energy residue left behind by some usually poltergeists, but very powerful entities that I've been vomited on by a shadow figure. I don't know
Yeesh.
if you consider that stuff, and that's one of the episodes in Eli Roth Presents the Legion of
Yeah.
Extras. I've been vomited on by, and it's like I consider it demonic venom. You don't want to ingest it. I know people that have gotten so violently ill, close to death from ingesting it. But I don't wouldn't categorize that as ectoplasm. Although there's a house here in Vegas, and they discovered a hidden room that they believe was used to dismember bodies after they were murdered. It was like a mob kill house. Now, my wife and I both witnessed the walls bleeding like a sappy substance when entities would try to manifest. Um, so I don't know. I've seen it. I don't know if it was ectoplasm that I'm seeing, but I've seen this residue be generated on things when an extremely powerful disembodied human entity or something more mischievous and more malevolent has appeared and attached itself to something. And even on some of the haunted items I have here, every once in a while, if Sharon and I hear something or feel something is getting active with one of the objects, we sometimes the object will get sweaty. It's very interesting. It'll get sweaty.
Hmm.
So like I said, I'm not a scientist. I don't know what it is, but I believe it's a very real thing. Is it the ectoplasm we saw in the movie? I don't know. But Dan's got a great book out. Actually, his father wrote it, The History of Ghosts. Great book. They
Wow.
talk about that a little bit in there. And all of the paranormal issues going on in Dan's life growing up as a kid involving his family helped inspire him to write Ghostbusters. So,
Huh.
but he's interested in that. It's called The History of Ghosts, written by Peter Ackroyd, Dan's father.
Very
Huh.
cool.
I'll have to look that up. I didn't know about that.
Are you guys ready for question two? Do we have
Hi.
Number
somebody that would like to talk? I have had venom spit at me in spiritual warfare, not physical, but in another dimension. Yep, yeah, that too. All righty, this is Catherine in Utah. Hi, Catherine.
Hi,
Hey,
Catherine.
Catherine.
I love to hear a good ghost story. I don't have the courage to go ghost hunting. If you had to choose, where would be your number one? Oh, this is a long one. First choice, top of the list, must do haunted site to investigate. Great question.
Okay. Well, I actually have a recommendation. So, I would recommend you take a trip to Long Beach, California, and stay on the Queen Mary. You can literally have your own hotel room on the ship, and actually the hotel rates are fairly reasonable for Southern California for sure. And and I would tour the ship, especially at night. I wouldn't go to any of the typical rooms and areas that they promote with whatever ghost hunting tours on the Queen Mary. Certainly, all the experiences I had on there were not in those areas, but and it was always great to have someone with me. My wife and I were on there, and she actually heard a piano playing in a room that was absolutely 100% empty and dark. And the moment that I opened the door into that area, the piano music stopped. But you could actually hear the hammers on the piano hitting the strings. I mean, it was a
Wow.
very physical thing. And the moment I opened the door, it abruptly stopped. It was quite remarkable. But I've been poked on the Queen Mary in the back. It left a red mark. I heard what I would call ghost bagpipes early in the morning. That was interesting because it faded in slowly, and initially I thought it was just water pipe things, and then it was absolutely clear as a bell bagpipes, and then it slowly faded out again
Wow.
at the end. But and then of course I think the picture I've shared before, but of the the spirit, I walked through this woman, and after I walked through her 3 times, then I started taking pictures, and you could actually see a mist forming, and it's you could see her dress and
Wow.
outline and everything. It's pretty neat. But
Oh, very cool. And she's been to some cool places, and
I have. But when it comes to where I would want to go, the first thing I thought, I'd like to go to New Orleans just to tour and the history and see what it feels like. But I have a surprise guest.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
So if you want to make a doorbell.
Ding dong. Ding dong. There we go.
This is, we got 24 chicks. They were just born Tuesday. This is Chicoletta.
Chicoletta. Hello.
My granddaughter wanted one to be called Chicoletta. So she wanted to stop by and say hi to everybody on the show.
Very cool. Hello.
I bet you didn't think I invited a chicken. I knew you
did. I did. You got me on that one, and I would have never guessed.
You guys got Bigfoot. I got chickens.
Very cool. Very cool. Good for you, Annette.
But yeah, I would thank you so much. I had chicken delivery. It's kind of like DoorDash, but they're still alive. Anyway.
And not fried. Yeah.
They're not fried. That's what I wanted to do. And I was going to go to New Orleans, and then the hurricane hit and I never went. And I just wanted to feel the vibe of the place and do the history and all of that. The French Quarter, because I wanted to experience the energy there. But Father Shawn has stories about New Orleans. But that's the first thing I thought of. But there's a lot of places that are very curious. And as for the Queen Mary, when I'd call my mom, I could hear the boat in the harbor with the horn because she lived that close to the Queen Mary that you could hear it on the phone call. So that's cool. I would like to see that too. That's very unusual.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of being locked in overnight at some old haunted prison. That doesn't sound like fun to me. But what about Father Shawn? What's he gonna say?
Yeah.
Well, Annette, real quick on the New Orleans thing, it's just if you go there, it just something about it just attaches to you, and you just fall in love with the place. If I do go back, I have a friend who thinks his family thinks he's a loop guru that I need to visit. And if you go there and run into my vampire friend, tell him I said hi.
That is the craziest story. And I brought up New Orleans, and we are a New Orleans show. So I'm sure there's people that love that, and then you have that story, but his story is so crazy. This guy that was very thin and pale, and he sees him way over here. He's kind of walking away from, go around the corner. Look, he's right over here. So the guy keeps showing up no matter which way he tries to go to ditch him. And that sounds to me like, he didn't say it, nobody said it, was vampires.
Yeah. He was unusually tall, unusually pale, dressed in period dress, and definitely followed me back to my hotel. Creeped me out so bad, I stopped urbexing that night down in the French Quarter, which I was doing late at night. And I went back to my hotel room, but every time I went down an alley or another side street to try to avoid him, there he was again ahead of me, just kind of on the side of the road in the shadows, watching me. It creeped me out. So yeah, if you run into him, tell him I said hi. Tell him I'm doing well. I have to say, I hands down, it has to be my family castle, Whittington Castle in Shropshire, England. I've been talking to a paranormal team there nearby Shropshire, England, who's been there and investigated the castle, and they are totally on board with investigating with an actual descendant of the Whittington descendant who's into that sort of thing, investigating with that person. So it may happen, but I have to say that would be the top place for me to go to, because nearby there is County Whittington, Old Whittington, New Whittington, the villages.
When we're rich, we have to go.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
there we
Wouldn't
go.
that be like? I mean, I'd love to do the old castle, just the vibe of that, the history of that. I love that.
That would be so awesome. And I may take it over if I go if I can arrange to have enough uh, clansmen show up there. We'll just take the castle over.
There we go.
But then I'm going to put a sign on my door that says Father Sean really wants to meet you. And then I'm going to draw a picture of you so that they know to go scare you at night so I can sleep.
Okay.
You'll have to wear your
Alrighty.
kilt. Wear your
Yes.
kilt. Yeah,
Yes.
You guys ready for the next one?
I'm an old
absolutely.
Catholic school girl, so I'm good in plaid. I love plaid.
Tartan. It's tartan.
Okay.
Okay, this is Net. This is a neighbor of yours, Benny in Oklahoma. Hi, Benny.
Hi, Benny.
Hey,
Don't know
Benny.
where, but he's in the same state. He says, I was recently on vacation. I stopped in a town that had a ghost tour and decided to go on it. They gave away a free pair of dowsing rods. I don't know how to use them, and it didn't work like anyone else knew how to use them either. What are your thoughts on dowsing rods? And before I pass it off to you guys, here in my trusty drawer full of equipment in front of me is Sharon's dowsing rods. Let's see what they do here. Look at that. What do you think about that?
Wow.
Going crazy, and I'm in, meat locker now.
Yeah.
Um, Sharon loves them. I use them from time to time, and I will pass that on to you guys.
I used dowsing rods once, and because a friend actually said that you could find treasure with them as well. So we were out in the woods, and it was interesting because they, if we, you know it was in this one area where you're in. It was near, actually, I won't say a ghost town, but you know an empty, abandoned mining facility, right? And so we're walking through there, and sure enough, they crossed, right? And somebody said, "Oh, well, that's where we need to dig," right? So we dig down there, and we didn't find it. So I get out my metal detector because I'm a little more scientific, right? And I metal detect in the area. Well, it was only off really by about a foot, and dug down, and sure enough found a barber quarter, from about 1892. And it was interesting that happened pretty. I mean, that's pretty close just for a couple of sticks of metal. You know what I'm saying? So that's my experience.
I didn't answer. I didn't answer Benny's question, did I? I just showed him Benny. Just if you start now doing a little paranormal investigating on your own, or even around your own house, if you feel something odd and you want to check it out, it's if you hold them loosely so that they can swing and do their own thing. Usually they'll cross or they'll go one way or the other. Mine many times just point back at me and stop. Very rarely, like I'm going to talk to Sharon about that when she gets home from work today. Very rarely do they do what they were just doing a second ago, go crazy like that. So, I mean, but there's a lot of haunted objects, alleged haunted objects in the office here, and there's been a lot of. We live in a haunted house, so I'm not surprised they did that. But um, I guess that's talk to an old school um, person that used to look for like energy portals on their land or even water. There's a lot of
They
people that hire
do
out in farm country, like where Annette's at, that use a form of dowsing rods
to
to find.
locate water.
Absolutely.
And that was very popular, very reliable. And also, I have seen on a couple of shows that they were looking for possible dead bodies with them. And if you start with knowing that everything is energy, and we have somebody saying, Susan is saying, they were going wonky because they're Sharon's rods. I believe that they could be attuned to a person and used to a certain person and also used to finding a certain thing. But I don't know. I mean, if you always used it for something practical and then you wanted to use it for paranormal, if you change the function, I don't know. but known a lot of people that use them very successfully. They're not expensive. If you have a little patience, it might be worth giving it a try.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like I
absolutely.
said, I always keep an open mind on everything. So
Coins are cool to find instead of ghosts. You don't have a ghost, but you have a coin. That's cool.
yeah, yeah, that was neat. But yeah,
Very, very cool. Someone's got a good one there. Mark. Yeah.
Hi,
Does he
Mark.
bring up? Do I have my trusty? He's talking about a millimeter. Yeah, I got my trusty millimeter handy and my. I like that too. Good job. Yeah, that's a good comment. I like those too. Mainly, I like my millimeter to try and debunk that there's already a reason why there's such high electromagnetic field in a particular location. And I'll tell you, sometimes it's even surprising when there should be and there's not. Like I worked a case where the home was built right underneath. Like there was a triangle of three power towers with all
Oh,
of this electrical stuff over their house and stuff. And I pulled up and thought, oh, for sure, the EMF readings are going to be off the charts, and that's what's causing all the paranormal activity. Nothing. It was like a dead zone
wow.
in those towers. So who
yeah,
knows? But
I
yeah,
yeah, and I've used a K2 meter at at this site in Alton, Illinois, where there's just all that's left of it is just one wall of a prison that was used
yeah,
in the Civil War, and I so I went up there and I'd taken a picture probably about a year earlier where there was a face in the picture. It was clear as a bell, this face that was in the rock, that was on the rocks. Well, I went back there, same conditions, same lighting, same everything, and I took numerous photos, no face. There was just nothing that actually I could recreate the face again. But so I thought, well, I'll have my K2 here. Let me start asking some questions, right? So I asked some questions, and I got started getting some responses. Now it sat there for the longest time with no response whatsoever, right? And then when I started asking questions, were you a soldier? All of a sudden K2 spikes over, right? And it goes through. And finally I got down to and there was somebody that was standing there with me, and they're like, I said, were you from, Georgia? Nothing. Were you from Mississippi? No. Were you from North Carolina? No. Were you from Alabama? Bing, on the K2.
Cool.
Went back around. I said, so not Alabama? Nothing. I went through the whole thing, and I said, or I said, so Alabama. Ding. Okay, not North Carolina. Nothing. Nothing. Went through all the southern states again. I got back to Alabama. Bing. It just without fail. I was able to recreate it 3 times, and I was like, okay, well, thank you.
Very cool.
well,
I
I
hope
had
your
a.
spirit.
I was in a place with a lot of equipment once, and I knew the place was really a haunted off the charts, and I was getting nothing. And the very gifted psychic medium I was with said some of the spirits here are scared of this equipment, um, and that's a very possible
Yeah,
scenario too. That they don't understand it. They're from another era, another time period, and they don't know what these things are. They're already lost enough, and in a lot of you know whatever type of pain they may be experiencing in the
I can
spirit
see
world,
that.
they may be freaked out a little bit by this equipment. That's funny. Alton, Illinois, is considered to be one of the most haunted towns in America, and I heard that that Civil War hospital that was once there, that now is just a wall. So much horror took place there. These stones and rocks and bricks that built that prison absorbed all of that. Do you know most of the town is built after they tore down that hospital? They used most of that stone and brickwork to build other buildings there and
Oh,
homes.
absolutely. Yep.
That's why a lot of these other structures there are experiencing such, in my humble opinion, experiencing such paranormal activity is because they used that that rubble and those stones and those old bricks and blocks to build other stuff.
No, and Alton is absolutely haunted. There's not many places I've gone in Alton that didn't have some spirit attachments there. But
We got a question from Mark asking, with asking questions, have you ever used a yes or no box?
I'm not sure exactly what he means by a yes or no box. I'm so old school. Um, I mean, I have this. Oh, this works great for me. I have an old Radio Shack ghost box. I'll pull the antenna up. I'll put earbuds in. I'm not trying to get. I'm not worried about getting. I'm not on a TV show, so I don't care if I get evidence that I can show on TV or not. But I want to try and find closure for the family I'm helping. So any answers I get from the spirit world are welcome. And I'll actually put earbuds in this and walk around, and I'll be the only one getting answers to my questions. Sometimes I'm walking around with one of these and I'm already have a half a dozen or a dozen pre-recorded questions, and I wait about 30 seconds between each question before I've recorded another one, and I will play these questions and have another tape recorder recording everything, and then I will compare what I might have heard, and I write things that I hear I'm writing down on a piece of paper to these questions, and then I'll compare what I heard and wrote down to what might be on the tape recorder that recorded the whole thing. Because some of these old school handheld voiceover recorders, they say the ones that use the little tape decks create their own white noise.
yep, they
And
do.
help. Yeah, I believe that too. I'm very old school, so I'm sorry, Mark. I don't really have a legitimate yes no box. I'm not sure what that is.
I'm old school as well. Something that I use that sounds like the same ish idea that's um, not real technical, but it's a mini flashlight, like a little mag flashlight, and you can turn the end of it till it's right about to be on or off. And then you can ask questions and it will turn on for yes, turn off for no. And we've done significant length sessions using little flashlights. The button ones, I don't know if that's as good as the twisty ones, but we had a twisty flashlight on the window, not windowsill, the fireplace mantle. And we stood in there and we would kind of check our results, like Carl said, ask the question again, ask it in another way, and see if everything seems to be following along consistently with the questions and answers. So I'll say my yes no box is a small flashlight that twists.
Oh, that's very cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah. Well, guys, it's about 6 minutes till. I better get you ready to kick you out of here, Carl.
All right, that's fine. That's
I
fine.
hope you had fun. Did you
Oh,
have
always. Oh, I always have fun.
Let me remind everybody again, you will be back on Friday, May 15th. Mark your calendars. And
nice?
Carl and I are going to jump into the deep end without our floaties on and get really, really squatchy that day.
Yep,
So
absolutely,
plan on it.
absolutely.
All right, Carl, I love
All
you,
right,
brother. I respect you. Thank you so much for being
Thank
our
you so
surprise
much.
guest today. Have a
Thank
great
you.
weekend, and I'll be in touch, brother.
love you both. Take
Love
care.
you too. Take care. Have a great weekend. Thanks.
Carl, sup?
Was that fun or what?
That was fun. And I think it's going to be a big hit. These because I've just thrown out these invitations. Open invitation. Didn't reach out to anybody in particular, saying if you want to be a surprise guest on the show, any first Friday that is, we book a regular guest on the second and third Friday of every month, and then the last Friday is Happy Medium Monthly. But I'm opening up first Fridays with Father Shawn and Annette to anybody that wants to be a surprise guest, which means just that. We're not
I
going
think
to
it'll be fun.
promote and announce to people that you're coming, but we'll know, and you'll be a surprise guest. So reach out to me if you want to be one of those people. So yeah, I'm going to take an opportunity here. I'm just going to throw it out there, and then we're going to move off the topic so I don't get emotional. But everybody, keep my wife, send positive vibes and love and light my way. And if you pray, uh, keep my wife in your prayers. She could use it. She's going through a tough time right now, some severe health issues, so we could use that. All right, Annette, I love you. I respect you. I want you to have a very wonderful remainder to your Friday evening and your weekend, and take care of them chicks for me. And anything you would like to say before I kick you out of here?
I'm just tell Sharon she will be on my prayer list, and thank you to all of our listeners and our chatters and to Carl. We had a great time, and have a fabulous weekend.
All right, Annette, I love you. Take care. Have a great night. I'll talk to you soon.
Love you.
Annette Munich, Stellium Books. God bless Michelle DeRoche and Joel Montaldo and the United Public Radio Network for carrying my show. And thank each and every one of you for tuning in, because I don't have a show without you guys, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So thank you all for tuning in. Next Friday, Friday the 13th, February 13th, director Daniel Groom of the new movie Stonegate will be here. That's going to be a great show. So don't miss that one next week. Daniel Groom on Friday the 13th, director of Stonegate, the new psychological paranormal thriller Stonegate. All right, brothers and sisters, remember, stay tuned for Spirit Switchboard with Carrie Lynn Shellhorn. That's a great show. We're just getting started here on High Strangeness Friday on United Public Radio Network. And remember, we may have done what the devil said we did, but we are not who the devil says we are. I love you all. God bless you all in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Peace.